Hey everyone, welcome to this video. First of all, I want to thank you for, I'm having over 7,000 subscribers, which is unbelievable to me, and you writing such a lovely comment, very supportive, which motivates me to make more videos, and the videos are getting harder and harder. So I'm trying to improve my game, and that's why sometimes I don't create any videos, because I feel like, oh, this is way below my game. But this is actually not true. So that's why today I tried to just shell out the video like 40 minutes straight from the DaVinci. Don't think about it too much. And this is the post that I've did yesterday. It was a data stream, and we started talking about it over my Discord, shameless plug, and I started putting my own twist on it. And I always wanted to do this like data stream textures. So this is like real quick dirty version of it, just so you see how this setup is done. I did the offsetting of the texture wrong, and so there's not a lot of fixing. But let's get straight with it. No more talking. Stop talking immediately. Stop talking. Let's get to it. So we are going to start building the simulation of that cable twist. We're going to start by putting in plane. I have an empty scene with just a couple of nulls to organize our scene. So empty plane, we're going to make width by 600, and we're going to make height just by 50. So this will create something like that. And we're just going to be panning, holding Alt and left click on the mesh. You can just pan like that. And we're going to be panning a lot just to check our intersections. So I'm going to fix the mesh a little bit. We're not going to need so many height segments. So I'm just going to maybe do 15 of width and then 4 here. And that should be enough for now. We're not going to be do any crazy twists, maybe 20. And this is our first one, and we're going to put it into cloner. I'm going to be holding Alt and clicking on cloner while plane highlighted, so it will become automatically parent, and switch the mode to radial. Put it in a ZY, and this will create this kind of tunnel, which we're going to expand by using radius. And now we have our first 5 cables, kind of big ones. What we can do next is to save this on a side, because we're going to be using it to generate more cables, more ribbons. Control C on a cloner and Control V. And this is this is the duplicate that we just gonna hold Alt again and put it into connect object. So no welding, no tolerance, just as it is. Press C, and now it's mesh object. So it's no longer parametric plane object, but it's just mesh. It's just a couple of strips that are one object. So I'll call it cable wide. Let's say this is going to be our first cable, and we still have our cloner. So what I can do now, I can offset it, and I can change, even the radius. So I can put it a bit closer, and I can go to that plane, make it, even like make it less wide, and that's good to me. So I'm just gonna click on that cloner again, copy C, like Control C, Control V, and then hold Alt, put it into connect object, and no welding, no tolerance. Press C to commit it to the mesh, and I'm gonna cable. Now I'm gonna go back to that cloner, make the radius even bigger, make it more of those, and make them maybe even less, just like a tiny strips and tiny strips of cables. So that's good. I'm gonna Control C, Control V, Alt, connect object, no tolerance, press C, cable, tiny. So we have 3 types of cables: small, wide, and tiny. And this morning I was thinking maybe to provide some variation and some interesting, different detail, we're going to do rounded cables. So we can go to our, spline objects, and we can just go to circle and maybe Z epsilon, ZY, and go radius like 5, like that, and put it in extrude. So we know the offset is going to be 600 because that's the length of those ribbons. I can go middle click and click on the front view by middle click and just drag this so it's matching roughly, our ribbons. And now I have it here. I can put it into cloner like we did before and put it into radial mode, Z, Y, Z, Y, and I kept saying epsilon. We can also go into that extrude, go to caps, turn off start and end, just so we don't have that ending and start. We don't need that really. And what I need to do is actually create subdivision just so it's kind of nice in terms of bending. So that should be more than enough. And I think I can get away with, if I go into uniform intermediate points, I can go just like 2. And this should be just good enough for us to go. I can press this eye icon. I can solo only that cloner with those. And I can actually go into the connect object, do the same thing as we did before. We'll do cables only once, so that's fine. So we have an object for those cables, and we have it soloed. So I'll just call it cable round, and we're going to put them together. So we have 4 types of cables, and we're going to start with cable round. And what we need to create is the plane. The plane will be rotated like this, and it's going to be called rotator because we're going to use it to rotate all the objects into one direction while we fix all the points on the second, on the other side. So I'm going to move it a little bit closer, and I'm going to use belt object, belt tag to do this. I'm going to put the belt tag on the cable round. So now there's a cable tag on it, and we're also going to put the cloth tag on it. So it's the same simulation, cloth tags, simulation tags, cloth, and we have a belt, and we want to belt it on that plane. So I'm just going to drag that plane in. We actually call it rotator, just so we know. We're going to rotate that. If you go to coordinates, we can rotate the pitch, strangely. So we're gonna rotate the pitch, and we're gonna go maybe 250 frames, and we're gonna rotate it by 360. Okay, so I'll just move that keyframe here, and so we have it like that. I don't know why, but I want to move it onto the other side. So I highlight that keyframe, go to that rotator, and make it minus 360. So it will rotate the other side. It feels better to me. I don't know why. Okay, so now I have a belt in place, rotator is spinning. Now I'm gonna go to the frame 0 and middle click into the scene, see the view, and go to the front view, go into the point mode, and go into the selection mode. Actually, take the rectangle selection and just highlight like that. And then you highlight only the points. If you go back to the perspective, you see only that front is highlighted. And we're going to use that to belt it to our rotator. And if I press set now, nothing's going to happen. And that's because rotator, our plane, is still parametric object because you have all these object properties here. And once you press C, you will no longer have those properties, but you also are able to use belt now. So, there are benefits of keeping things parametric, but there's also benefits to just work with mesh, and you can do different things with, both of these. So I'm just gonna, if I press set now on that belt tag, it will connect to that because it's no longer a parametric object. So it will just hook it up to that mesh. That's our first thing connected. Now, if I just get rid of that solo button. So remember, we had this solo here. So we were kind of soloing that. We're going to stay in point mode, and we're going to go one by one. We're going to go to tiny. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to hold Control and drag the stack over all of those, just so we know we're all pointing to all rotators. And all we need to do, go to tiny and press again solo. So solo out, solo in. Now we have this one in. I can use the selection. I don't have all of them, so I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. Use the selection, and I'm going to set it, and now it's set. Then I go again here. Use bam bam. Use the selection. Go to the bell tag and set it. Now go to the wide. Bam bam. Go to the bell tag. Actually do the selection and set it. That's great. So we have all of those set. So if I'm going to go out of that, you see now we all link to that rotator. That's pretty good. Now all we need to do on the other side, we're just going to go here, and I'm just going to go again solo, and now we're going to have that cloth tag. So cloth tag, and I'm just going to do the dresser. So in the cloth tag, go to the dresser, and you press this fixed point set. So you highlight those points on the other side. So you see now the other points are highlighted, and you just fix them. And they're gonna turn pink color. So you're gonna see like they are pink now. So you know they're not gonna be moving at all. They're just gonna stay fixed always on that place. And you know, you can do a lot of stuff with that. And now we just press Control and drag it to all other cables that we're using. I'm gonna switch to the other cable, double click the eye, and you see it does it wrong now. Like it thinks at different points because it's using the name from the previous mesh. So what we need to do is we need to highlight again those points that are correct and go to that correct cloth tag, and we fix those points by pressing set. So we can even clear just to be sure, and we can set again, and now we have it correctly. So we have a hook it to the rotator on the right, and then we have it fixed on the left, and then we just keep going in. So I'm going to go to here, change the type to small, bam bam, and go here, highlight, and click here, dresser, and fix point. So I can even clear, fix, set, just to be sure, and do the same thing here, bam bam, highlight, and dresser, and fix points, set. So clear, set. Cool. So that's all of them done. Now the cool part, like we have a cloth tag ready, and we can go back to the perspective, zoom out, get rid of the solo. Now holding Alt and using right hand, I can zoom out. I can click to the mesh, rotate around it. Just I always hold Alt. Like whenever I'm in cinema, I just keep holding Alt because it's like moving with Alt is the best. So holding Alt for anything, just changing clicks. So if you click left, you can keep like panning around the mesh. If you click any point of that mesh, then you just keep panning around that point. And then if you keep left, then you just keep zooming in and out. I just basically keep holding Alt. And then if you have middle while holding Alt, then you can just kind of do all this. So I just keep using it to navigate the scene quickly. Basically, you could put a brick on your Alt and then just use it all day. But that would be a problem. So now if I press play, just to see what's happening. Okay, so there's a couple things I need to do. I need to move that plane a little bit because I don't want it to be this stretch. I want to give it some room. So, but I don't want to use any settings on the cloth tag yet. So what I'm going to do, that rotator, once it's going to get animated, I'm going to also animate the movement on the x-axis. So I'm going to go to the frame 0, press a keyframe, go to the frame, I don't know, 130, and move it a little bit over here, maybe just like 100 centimeters. And this way it will go that one. So if I run it again, the simulation, it will now create that wavy effect, which is much more, you know, in the ballpark where we want it to be. The one problem I have, I don't see any of my beautiful cables, so they're all getting squashed by all this, but that's fine. We will figure this out by maybe, you know, introducing some kind of if I go to cable round and go to that surface settings, we can increase like a stickiness, thickness, target length, mass, bendiness. We can also, you know, balloon them, or we can do soft body, and that would be a whole different level. But let's stay with bendiness and make it like 0. You see, and they kind of come out. Now this is somewhere where I want to be. This is something I'm looking for. And even though this looks busy now, some of those will be transparent and they will be data lines. And I will show you how we're going to do them. So yeah, this is basically the part where you wanna be. You can make it as long as you want, and then you create a camera. So you're gonna go Redshift, camera standard, and you frame it just here in the middle, like I did. So that's what you saw actually yesterday. You're kind of figuring this out on the Discord. Now, another important thing, like if you're somewhere where you like it, like this is something that you enjoy, then it's probably a good idea to go highlight all these cloth tags, go to the cache, and cache the whole scene. So if you do that, it will just run smoother. You won't have to worry about anything anymore, and you can just kind of cache it. You can increase also, you can go to the Control D and go to the simulation, and you can increase the substeps, that's iterations. So you see if that simulation runs better for you. So if you're not happy with it, so I can go Control Z, go back, so it's not cached anymore, and I can do the one thing that I increase the substeps to 40 and iterations to 3, and we'll see what it does, how it behaves, if it's more realistic, or if it's more stiff, if I get more of the look I'm seeking. It's really good idea to play with it, because like you see that now the cables are more mixed. They're getting more of a sort of a, you know, different interaction, and I see more of those rounded cables. I see they're kind of here. So the next thing I can do is to go over all those, highlight them all, and put them alt in a cloth. So they all get their own cloth surface. And what can we do? We can increase the thickness, so give them actual thickness. So if I go to this, you see now they have a, you know, like the regular thickness of a cable. And it's not regular cable, it could be some sort of data line, SATA disk line. So I'm just gonna highlight those cloth surfaces actually. And what we can do, we can also improve, you know, our mesh, just so we don't get such intersections. The way we can do it as well is through the Redshift object tag. But let me do the subdivision here, maybe 1 subdivision for now, and we run it again. Now it can run a bit slower because we've already, you know, changed subdivision, but we also introducing a lot of quality detail into the whole thing, because now you see I have a no intersection. I have beautifully visually, you know, I can do a lot of detail on these, and that makes all the difference. If you change that setting, you know, on simulations, it can provide a lot of, you know, good change for your project. If you just run everything in default, you know, it's usually fine, but it's definitely worth to play with. So I'm happy with this. I'm just gonna cache this in purpose for the tutorial, just so we don't, you know, we don't spend ages on figuring this out. I'm gonna cache the scene, so cache the whole scene. I don't know where the cache is going. I need to check my folder for caching, but I'm hoping it's my cache disk. I really like it. I still get that band here, but I guess we'll figure this out. So now this is our simulation done. Let's move to the texturing. Bam! Yeah, it's no intro. It's just, yeah. Hey, it's me, Stefan. Let's do texturing today. Thank you, Stefan, I guess. Yeah, whatever, man. Whatever, man. So the first thing you notice, we have all these objects. I can hide them, and we're gonna have camera inside the camera. Go reset the cam and have it like here. We don't need to see the actual rotator, so I'm just gonna turn it off from both actually, I think, because now we no longer need it, because since we cached the scene, it's all good. We just gonna use that cache. We have a little bit of a jiggly wiggly. I really love this. Yeah, that's good. So this is a good dynamics. I like good energy. And so I'm gonna start by checking the render and introducing the first light, and it's going to be area light. We're going to do two top lights with different colors, just so give it some kind of nice contrast. And I'm going to start by putting area light, going 90 degrees, pressing E, lifting it up, moving it left. Then I'm going to set how I want it to be. So I don't want it to be that intensive. So like about this, and less spread, more directional, maybe like that. That's really looking good. I should be saving it. And then I'm going to change the color to, everyone loved yesterday that purple. So I'm just going to change it to that, maybe even more bluish. So even less intensive. Yeah, like that. And then I'm going to hold control, hold, move it here, go into that area light and make it blue with that same, I'm just going to use that slider to move on over to the blue side. Just going to keep it in the same level and take those both area lights, move them into the light null, and also that blue one. I want to be like really just, I'm just going to drag the exposure even down. That's going to be just a subtle interjection there. Yeah, that's about where we had it yesterday. And now the massive difference, what makes like really good difference, is that adding those cables, materials that are metallic. So it will immediately, we'll see how good it looks as soon as you introduce some metallic texture. And so the way you can do it, you just use like, I'm gonna use these cable around it, and I'm gonna delete actually all those selection tags. We don't need those. We can create our own. And so we have that, and I can increase the metalness. And you see we get those beautiful reflections from those area lights on the top. The other one I do is, before I start visualizing, I want to as well introduce the dome light. And for dome light, we want to turn off the background, and we want to go into the dome light and actual bring in texture. And the one I like is from Grayscale Gorilla. If I gonna go to look at their HDRIs, they have a Pro Studios Metal. So maybe the number 4. So if I go to the dome light and drag the texture over that tag, it will activate that for me. So if you have any metallic HDRI like that, I would highly recommend, to getting those for the metallic objects, to get some sort of this HDRIs. It would be super good idea. Usually it looks like a studio. It looks pretty much like a studio HDRI, which is heavily blurred out. You just blur things out. You blur it like this heavy, like the number 12. It's I think it's Ross's favorite. This is a really good one actually. Yeah. So you have that one. So you have the cables, and now all you need to do is open up that and look into it. So you can either move into more dark metal, or you can move like like a nice chrome metal. So we can do that for now, and we can introduce texture and go, and I'm going to be searching for, I'm going to go to my 3D assets, and yeah, I'm going to do technology surface textures. So these are really nice for these types of, and we can use them really, like you're going to see how much difference if you get, I don't remember what was the technology surfaces texture, tile volume pack one. This is the one I'm choosing, or like this one. and we can plug it even into the bump map, you know, as a height map, and change it to height field. Yeah, and you're gonna notice like it's gonna have the weird stretch because like we've extruded it from a spline, so it doesn't really have like a good good UVs. We can try first fix to go triplanar. So we're going to introduce triplanar node, and you go out color into the texture image X. So it's just going to use that side, and we're going to go back to the texture input. And now I get that texture in. So what I can do now is bring in absolute node. So an absolute node can control the values like scale, rotation, and you can plug it into your scale. So instead of like dialing all these scale values, I have just one slider that I can scale it to like a 3, or like a 5, and I can just keep generating. And this is, you notice that it's really harsh. If I go into that bump map, you notice that height scale is 1, which we don't need. We can go like 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 2, and we get like really subtle effect that is almost not noticeable, but you see that in certain highlights. You're going to see that there is a little bit of texture. So we can try what we can get away with. We can go 0, 0, 9. That's a little bit too much, and a little bit rotated in wrong direction. So we can again bring in or copy absolute node and just drag it into that texture and go to the UV remap rotate, and we can rotate the texture to kind of find. I really like how this is looking. This is almost like a snake skin. Really good cable management. Thank you very much. So this is our first cable, and it's already like fantastic cable. I recommend like getting texture. I can't provide you with textures. I can provide you with this type of simulation, but I'm sure you will be able to find your own textures for texturing those cables. So we have a metallic done. The next one, we can use the data one. And for the data one, we can use these. I think, I don't know which ones are these. These are the one on this. There's the wide one, small one, and then there's the tiny ones. So the tiny could be the data ones, or the small ones could be the data ones. Okay, small, just so we don't overdo it. And I'm going to introduce new material, go standard, apply it to our cable small, go into it, and then open up the show node editor. And in the node editor, I've noticed I have my classic standard. So I'm going to hold control, copy that over, bring in material layer by double clicking, material layer, and then go into this as a base material, plug that first one and put it straight into the surface. And then as a second material, put it into that second one as a layer color, layer 1 color. And now we have 2 materials going into material layer. So they're going to be mixed based on the mask. And the mask, I found out, it's great to, you can download from freepik.com. I need to actually hype someone. Wait. So freepik.com. And if you're going to do dot, if you press dot, you will get all these sorts of all these sorts of textures, and some of them will be paid, some of them needs attribution, or you can create your own. I would recommend download something like this, so we can use something from Vector Corp, like that. And you're going to see, like, if you download this, you can free download. Attribution is required, so you can read what that means, and then you can download this as a EPS or JPEG. So I'm going to just download JPEG, even though it's like not the best quality, and I can drag this straight into the cinema, or I can use the textures that I've already used in the past. So I'm just going to drag this texture into material layer as that mask that we're going to be using, layering those 2 materials. And this one's going to be transparent, and this one's going to be luminescent. So we're going to bring in this texture. I have my attribute here, so I'm just going to click and go into my tutorials, and we're going to go data pattern, and I'm going to bring this minimal. So we have this texture, and there's going to be obviously again problem with UV maps, so we're going to have to do some triplanar, but that's fine. We have this texture as a mask, and now I'm going to set this as a emission layer. So I'm just going to make this 6, like really emissive. I don't think we need those and those, but so we have that, and we have this texture, but it's used wrongly. So what can we do? We can do invert. So we're gonna hold invert, and now we use these data textures. The next thing we can do, we can go triplanar and plug it in between. So if I highlight and this cable, now you see it's actually triplanar. I immediately fix the issue, and I see the texture nicely as a data cable. So now all I want to do is to bring that beautiful purple that everyone loves, and I'll take it down the I take it like maybe 20. So it's really MSF, and then I don't need to push when I go into my render settings, and I'm gonna go into the bloom effect, and I turn it on, and I do the threshold. I don't need to push it that much. So okay, if I move it over here, let's start actually working with this, and I'm gonna go to triplanar, fix it to object, that's fine. We can do rotation. Okay, like that. That would be good. So it's something like that. So we have those data lines, but we want this to be transparent. So I'm gonna go into the geometry on that first material here and go and change this to black. Now the geometry opacity, change this to black. Apologies. And now this is transparent. So we don't see no longer that material below it. We only see this material that is like that. So you can do it different ways. You can really pull this off multiple ways. I find this to be easy to explain and easy to do. So I really do it way. I don't think you can do it straight away. There's other things that we could use because this is really expensive way to render it. We could use Sprite, and then you would Sprite connect to Sprite like this, shader, and go to surface, and into that Sprite path you would connect that texture. So it would work same way, but Sprite works a little bit differently. You can do animation as well. So maybe it would be a good idea to do just single material through Sprite and straight to the surface. So we can test that out quickly. We can move that material here, can move that Sprite here. I can't release those. This should be a thing. I should be able to release this. I'm not able. Okay, so this is our version 1, and the version 2 would be the Sprite. So the Sprite works a little bit differently. You go out color from the shader through Sprite. The Sprite would be set to this data texture, and we would go to surface. And obviously we will need that invert. Which is wrong one. We need normal invert. And this is what we cannot do. But maybe we can do it before the sprite. Oh my god, this should be a thing. Yeah. So this limitation to sprites that we can't really, I don't really know them yet because I don't use sprites enough, but they are much faster to render if you set up sprite mask, which is usually black and white mask. They are much faster to render. Maybe I should look into it because I could render faster. But yeah, you can't invert. We can solve this differently, but I think there can't be anything between sprite and there can't be any other node because otherwise it will break. I can try ramp. Yeah, that's the same scenario. So let's drop this for now and just move into the way I set it up with two materials, which one is transparent and the other one is actually emissive. Now we have those two cables. Now we just need the big one. So big one, I was using the Grayscale Gorilla metals. So they have new materials that are, I think, perforated metal or pattern metal or embossed metal, actually. And it was this one that really stand out for me, like dimensional cubes. I'm going to change this to node, redshift, large, and I want to see dimensional cubes. This could be good cable as well for those round ones. So where is it? Oh yeah. So I'm just going to use the cable wide, drag it straight there, and nice. And maybe I can change the length of U or V to kind of nudge it into the direction I want it to be. And that's me done. That was that easy. Number 4. Take this one as well, like that. Okay. So we have data, we have cables, and we have that metallic one, right? So we have data cable, metallic one, and then we have those tiny ones. And those tiny ones could be, anything you want, really. Like it could be even glass. You can go standard, tiny, and go turn off all these reflection and base, and just bring glass, and make like a glass fiber. Where maybe if I open this up, this could be my base material. Do another material layer. So material layer, which I'm not writing, and put a color, surface, and now I'm just going to take the standard and again do the layer color 1 and bring in texture and put it into as a mask. So I have two materials and the mask will be what? Again, it's going to be one of our textures, so I can use the other one that I found and use this as an emissive. So this could be no transmission, and we can do emission, fully emissive. And now the mask needs to be again inverted. We can use invert, or we can use ramp to reverse the colors. And then we obviously want to do the triplanar. So put it in between. That will fix it for us. And then we can use scale. So we can bring in apps. Do you have apps? And we can go to general UV remap scale and then scale it like 0.02 or 0.2. We have these larger dots. We have 0.9. We have it like that. We have 1.5. We're like really tiny. And what we can do is actually, take all this, bring in max on noise, and bring in color layer and put this whole sequence into the base color and layer it with max on noise, put it into color 1 and go and do the subtract or the multiply. And then I need to go into the output actually and increase the contrast. And I also gonna need to put I don't have it plugged in, so I'm just like so confused right now. Why no one told me, guys? Why you didn't tell me? Seriously. Okay, so now I'm breaking it up with that noise, which obviously is if I delete the triplanar, does it works? It's crazy. Noise is awesome. Noise. So animation input, and I can change the scale of that noise, increase the scale, and then I can control where this is gonna show up by changing this multiply or difference. So I have an average, add, subtract, and with subtract I can really like change by changing scale. I make it larger. I can create pieces where it's we can see it here, and then we can not see it. Then we can see it here again. We can create kind of different levels of Then for that glass, we can go dispersion. Can bring in a little bit more color with that. We can also change this emission to blue. Different kind of getting different vibes. We're getting some like a yellowish, tones there, and really that's it. And if I go to that bloom and I see the intensity is pretty high, I can just lower that intensity on some of those.